Hello and welcome back to the Not Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks. Euro 2020 is upon us. The tournament kicks off on Friday with Italy facing Turkey in the first game of the tournament. Scotland are back at a major tournament for the first time since 1998 as well. Plenty of action to come over the month. We're back to football being on our screens every few hours, so it's sure to be a really interesting tournament, really good month for football as well. So we're going to have a look at our tournament, who Not the Old Firm thinks will get to the final, who will get out the groups, who's going to make the last 16, who's going to be the shocks of the tournament, different bits and bobs like that. So probably wondering why it looks a bit different. We're on the UEFA Predictor app on the laptop. We're going to be going through the group first, which you can already see our picks have already been selected before moving on to the knockout stage and sort of seeing where the tournament lies and that. A bit of a funner way to do the UEFA predictions for the summer rather than just me talking to the camera and you staring at my face for 20 minutes or so. So we'll go through this just now. We'll start with Group A. Italy, Turkey, Switzerland and Wales in that order. I think it'll be Italy and Turkey who go through to the last 16 as straight first and second of this group. Of course, some of the best third place winners as well go through. So I think there's 24 teams in total in the tournament, and I think 16 go through to the final round. So I think it's probably more difficult to not qualify for the last 16 than it is to actually get put out at this stage. But there will be some who go out. I think Wales will finish bottom in that group. Looking at their squad, it's quite a young squad, probably not as strong as any of the other teams in their group. I think they might get a point off Switzerland. Switzerland, I think, will be third. I think Turkey are real dark horses for them. I really like the look of their team. Likes of Under in there from Leicester City is one I've always liked watching as well. So yeah, I think Turkey are probably dark horses for the group. They've put in some pretty decent performances leading into the tournament as well. And of course, Italy are another team. They're probably dark horses in a different sense that probably unlikely to win the tournament in many people's eyes. You'll probably have the likes of Belgium, France as the favourites, Portugal as well. But Italy perhaps flying under the radar, but they've got a good young squad as well under Roberto Mancini. Roberto Mancini might be the best dressed manager here, so bonus points for that. On to Group B, this one's probably the easiest to predict in terms of the winners of the group. I think it'll be quite clearly Belgium. I mean, they've got former Mull man and Roberto Martinez in the dugout, so that counts for one thing. Sean Maloney as well in their coaching staff alongside Thierry Henry. Bizarre, I don't think we ever thought we'd say that when Sean Maloney was scoring that goal at Parkhead and things like that for the national team, but yeah, I think Belgium will win this pretty comfortably. I can see them getting 9 points out of 9. Denmark are another team that Scotland have came up against recently, and they've been proven to be quite strong. Obviously, still got the likes of Christian Eriksen, Kasper Schmeichel in there as well, and a lot of players sort of playing Bundesliga level as well. So I think they'll be quite strong in the tournament. Russia will be third and Finland fourth. I think Finland, along with North Macedonia, will probably be the rank outsiders. I can see them probably finishing on 0 points, but maybe they'll prove me wrong. And Russia will be in third place. Into Group C, Netherlands will be first. Now, I wasn't actually that impressed by them when they played Scotland the other night. I think they looked good. Depay was obviously very impressive. Tim Krul and goals, another former Falkirk player, alongside Kasper Schmeichel in Group B. But of course, they're missing Virgil van Dijk, and that's going to be the big thing for them. They missed out in the last couple of tournaments, Netherlands, so they'll be happy to be back where they obviously belong. Wouldn't expect them to get put out at this stage, but also wouldn't expect them to take a long run into the tournament and push for the final that they have done in previous tournaments. Austria is another team Scotland know very well. Also played them in the last international break, and they looked fairly decent without being amazing. Of course, they've got a big Bundesliga contingent, David Alaba, different players like that. So yeah, you would expect with Ukraine and North Macedonia in the group that they'll be second and through to the knockout stages. North Macedonia will probably go straight out. Group D, I think this is one we're all looking forward to. Of course, it is England, Croatia, Scotland, Czech Republic. I'm ruling with my head over my heart. Of course, want to put Scotland first, but I think England's squad, without bigging them up too much, is really impressive. I mean, they've got Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Jordan Henderson. I mean, that's a pretty scary midfield. Up front, perhaps where they are, I want to say lacking a wee bit, but I'm more so saying because I think Rashford and Sterling will start. They've not been in great form for Man United and Man City, albeit, I mean, not great form for Man City and Man United. it's still not bad. And of course, Harry Kane won the Golden Boot at the World Cup 2018. England like to big up their chances. They'll probably think they're going to win the full thing, but I don't think they'll get that far. Potentially, we'll see in the knockout stage predictions. But I think they'll do enough to win the group. Croatia perhaps aren't as strong as they were in 2018 when they reached the World Cup final. They've got a bit of an aging squad. Some of the players still involved in that, albeit Luka Modric, which likes of him, are 35 now. But I think they'll do enough to finish second in the group. And that leaves Scotland. I think the big one for Scotland is that Scotland-Czech Republic game, the game that kicks us off on June the 14th. It looks as if maybe one result would be enough to get Scotland through to the last 16. They've beaten Czech Republic before. I think they can do it again. And then even if they manage to get a point off Croatia or England in all of the two games, I think that would be enough to see Scotland into the last 16. And I think they've got the potential to do it. I don't think the games will be particularly exciting. I can see them being really tight. But we all know Scotland have got a way of proving people wrong under Steve Clarke. There's this newfound optimism. So we're going to ride that into the Euros. Group E, Spain, Poland, Sweden, Slovakia in that order. Again, I think it's probably easy to predict who the winners of this group will be. I'm aware there's going to be a shock somewhere. I don't quite know where at this group stage spot. I think the predictions are probably what you would expect. Poland are a fairly strong team. I think Poland and Sweden will be quite close to see who finished second and third of that group. Slovakia, perhaps not as strong as they were a few years ago as well. So I don't think Spain will take a deep dive into the tournament similar to Netherlands, but they'll do more than enough to top the group. Poland, Sweden shortly behind them. Group F, from a neutral point of view, if we take the Scotland glasses off, it's definitely the most interesting group. They've got 3 potential winners of the tournament in that group, along with Hungary. And I really feel for Hungary because they could really get Hastings in every game, 4 or 5-0. But yeah, France, Portugal, Germany, you don't want whoever comes out this group either. I mean, the 3 of them, I don't know whether I think they'll go through based on the fact that you would like to think that they'll all beat Hungary, and if they can beat Hungary by a few goals, then they should do enough, at least on goal difference and things like that, to get through to the next round. But I think France's squad is brilliant. I think whoever wins this group could go on to win the full thing. France v Portugal, again, that's a potential final. Really, you could probably put 2 or 3 different combinations together, potential finals from that group. But France's squad is ridiculous. I mean, Kante, Tolisso in midfield. Giroud seems to turn into some sort of machine on the international scene. Karim Benzema's back, Mbappe. It's a crazy team. And Portugal as well. I mean, you can't write off Ronaldo. And you've got Bernardo Silva, Cancelo, guys like that, Ruben Diaz at the back, who've obviously all started from Manchester City. So, yeah, really, really strong group that. And I would expect Portugal and France to come at top, and Germany to go through in the third place. As you can see, got the third place, who I think will go through from the third place. I think it will be Germany based on that goal difference. I think Sweden as well. I'm looking at the group. I think maybe between them and Poland, it's on a bit of a knife edge, but I can see them perhaps getting more points overall than the likes of Switzerland and Russia, who I think will go out. I think Scotland will get through on a similar basis to Germany in that they'll beat Czech Republic. And my last one being Ukraine, if you look at that as well. I think they're in a similar situation to Poland and Sweden. I can see them maybe getting 3 or 4 points in that one as well. Russia, I can maybe see Finland getting that a point or something off them, and that would leave them on 1 point and probably not. And similar with Switzerland, I think Switzerland have got a strong squad, but I can see them not picking up enough points to get out the group as well in that third place. Maybe a couple of points, a draw against Turkey and a draw against Wales, that type of thing as well. I think that's how I can see it working out. Right, group stage is done. We'll move on to the knockout rounds, and as you can see, this is the ties that are out from there. So we'll start from the top. Belgium, Germany, and I mean, what a round of 16 tie that is. I don't think either side would want each other. If you've seen these two in the final, you wouldn't be surprised. But I think on the basis of this squad, Joachim Low is obviously leaving Germany at the end of this tournament. They have got a mix of sort of experienced guys in there, like the Neuer are still there, from previous World Cup winning squads and things like that. But don't think they'll have enough to beat a Belgium team that's ranked first in the world right now. So going to go with Belgium to go through that. Italy, Austria. Austria again, I thought they were probably level pegging with Scotland the last time they played, and I think Italy have looked really, really impressive recently. And they've got a great young squad. So we'll go with Italy for that one. France v Ukraine, again, it's pretty straightforward. I can see through. I mean, if that turns out to be the game, then I can see France winning that pretty comfortably. Croatia-Poland's an interesting one because I think that could be really tight. I think there's going to be an upset somewhere. I wouldn't say this would be a massive upset, but you'd probably fancy Croatia to go through this one. I think maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll go with Poland on that one. They've obviously got, I think, Lewandowski's obviously the big one for Poland. Obviously Milik as well, who I quite like as well in there. So, yeah, I think people would probably pitch Croatia in this one, perhaps get a better track record than previous tournaments, but who knows? I think Poland could maybe just pull off a slight upset in this one. Spain v Scotland, yeah. It's hard to see if this was the case, how Scotland would progress past Spain. You never know. It would be It would be one of the greatest results in Scottish football history if Scotland managed to beat Spain. Of course, they might get to this stage. I think there's a possibility they could get the Netherlands as well, potentially in one of the outcomes. And if they get that, they could potentially face the winner of Turkey v Denmark. If they got that route, I can see Scotland. Netherlands weren't amazing. Scotland showed they can match them. Of course, it's different in a competitive game compared to a friendly. But I definitely think Scotland's squad could get past a Netherlands type team. I think Spain's just too. If it was in this scenario, I think Spain would just be too much. I think Netherlands is probably the ceiling in terms of teams Scotland could get past. And I mean, if they did get past Netherlands, then Turkey and Denmark are obviously two great sides. But you would probably argue that Netherlands are stronger than Turkey and Denmark. So who knows if they can get sort of down this bottom end of the last 16 draw, if they get that far, then Scotland could make a dive into the sort of quarterfinals, semi-finals stage of the tournament. And I say that with as much optimism as possible. But in this scenario, you would think Spain would eventually get the better of Scotland. And I can see Portugal beating England as well. I think England have got quite a young squad. I think they've only got a couple of players over 30. Great potential. I think you'll see more of them in the sort of latter tournaments. But this one probably comes a bit too early for them. So I'll go with Portugal. Holders of the tournament. Lots of Premier League winners in there. They've got like Fonte, who's won Liga and with Lille and different things like that. Ronaldo up front, of course, even at 36. He doesn't tend to turn up that much at these tournaments, albeit he does obviously perform well, but perhaps not the numbers we're used to seeing from someone like him. And so I can see them going through. Well, we just can this now. Scotland's out. It feels a bit of a damn squad that they've been out in the last 16, but we'll carry on. Netherlands beat Sweden. I think that's pretty straightforward. Sweden, I can't see them beating Netherlands. Netherlands were okay against Scotland, as I've already mentioned. Not amazing, but I think, again, they'll do enough to beat Sweden. And Turkey, Denmark as well. I think even though this has got the less headlining teams in it, I think it's a really interesting tie. Denmark and Turkey are probably two of the dark horses for the tournament, at least getting further than perhaps people expect them to. I'll probably go with Denmark on this one. I quite like some of the technical players they've got on that side, so we'll go with them. And that leaves Belgium, Italy, France, Poland, Spain, Portugal, and Netherlands, Denmark as our quarterfinals. Belgium again. Belgium for me. As I've already mentioned, the world-class talent in that team. Lukaku up front, who I've not even mentioned yet. Just, they look a different level. I think for them as well, they are going to win it. It has to be now, because they have had a good side for a couple of years now. Haven't really done as well as perhaps people would have expected them to. They did get to the semi-final stage, I think, in 2018 for the World Cup. But you would like to think with the squad they've got now, they could perhaps push on to that next level. France v Poland, it'd be great for Poland as a nation to get to this stage, but of course, I think if France managed to get them there, then that'll be fairly straightforward for France. It'll be a 2 or a 3-0 win. Spain, Portugal is an interesting one, but I think Portugal will just get the better of them. I think Portugal are on the cusp of a team hitting a peak at the moment, and Spain are still sort of trying to rebuild and things like that and try and get back to the glory days they had, sort of Euro 2008. World Cup 2010 era. I'm going to go with Denmark in this, to be fair. Netherlands, for me, as I've already mentioned, that Scotland game. Now, of course, you can only base it off. You can't base it off one friendly. But from what I've seen of Denmark recently, which again, I'll admit it's not been hell of a lot. A lot of the focus has been in Scotland. I have quite liked their sort of, they seem to build up from the back quite well and play football the right way. So I think their progressive style of play will get them through against the Netherlands. And that leaves us with Belgium, France, and Portugal, Denmark as the semi-finals. I think the winner of Belgium, France will win the tournament for me. I think this would be the ideal final in some ways for some people. I think these are the two best teams in the competition, but in this scenario, they obviously meet in the semi-final. And for me, I think I'll go with Belgium. I think France's squad's perhaps slightly more stacked in terms of depth. But I think on 11-11, Belgium could perhaps come out on top there. And yeah, if it gets to Denmark, Portugal, I think Portugal will probably get there. I think you would see the likes of Ronaldo, even Bernardo Silva, sort of come out in these games. Yes, I am aware of what I mentioned about Ronaldo a few minutes ago, but you would like to think if it came down to this game, I think it'd be tight, but I think they'd get to the final. And as I've already mentioned, I think the semi-final winner of Belgium, France win it. So therefore, Belgium to win the Euros. Can't see Portugal winning it twice in a row, even though that would be something pretty special from them. I can see Belgium going all the way and winning the tournament. So that's how we think Euro 2020 will go. I think on a general vibe, I think it's been great to see around Scotland the positive nature of build up towards this, whether it's from the media. There's been lots of really good stuff being put out by lots of different broadcasters, newspapers, etc. Crowds as well, in terms of Scotland fans and the Tartan Army, it's been great. And there's been, after the general dreariness of the last sort of 14, 15 months with COVID, this tournament being put back as well. It's been really good to see people being positive again, having actually something to look forward to. And regardless of what happens with Scotland in this, I think, even though Steve Clarke and the squad don't want to just turn up for a party and go home after a week, I think for the Scotland squad, I mean, it's a step forward. If they did get put out in the group stages, there would be recognition that it was an extremely challenging group. Not the worst group in the tournament, but definitely a challenging group. I think the Czech Republic game is probably the one. If you don't win that, then there'll be perhaps a bit of what if. But if you win that and still don't go out having been beaten by Croatia and England, then you can hold your head high. There's not a lot more you can do. Those two sides you would probably think are better than Scotland at the moment. But I think Scotland will do enough to get to the last 16. I think if they get this Spain ties down here, I think it'll be tough for them to go past any further than that. But if they do get into this sort of round against the Netherlands, and then they get Turkey or Denmark, I can see maybe them getting through that, at least to the quarterfinals. I think Turkey and Denmark are a lot better than people actually anticipate. But I can see last 16 in the quarterfinals for Scotland as a genuine possibility. I know some people spoke about winning it. I would love to get that carried away, but perhaps my Scottish pessimism isn't letting me to get that far. So I think they could get to last 16 quarterfinal Scotland. England, if Scotland managed to get further than England in the last six in this tournament, that is going to be some laugh, considering the battering Scotland gets down south in terms of Scottish football and that. And England as well, winning that group is not ideal. I mean, the winner of Scotland's group, you don't really want to be winning the group, really. To get, Portugal or France is just awful. Germany as well. To get either of them for winning the group just is not fun at all. Even though Spain in this scenario are still a world-class team, I would much rather them than the Portugal, France sides of the moment. So, been an interesting tournament. Really looking forward to seeing what happens. Looking forward to looking back in this video in a month's time and seeing how wrong I was. Seeing Finland into the last 16 quarterfinals type stages, and Denmark have gone on to win it. Denmark, my tip to be the sort of proper dark horse of this. I think semi-finals would be great for them. Similar to Croatia in 2018, nobody expected them to get to the final, but they did get there in the end. I think Denmark can do a sort of similar thing in the Euros as well. And Belgium, of course, winning it overall. So that's us for this video. Enjoy your Euros wherever you're watching, whoever you're watching it with, and do remember to stay safe and follow the current COVID guidelines on it. We'll have all the build-up and stuff to Scotland's game. We'll have live reactions and things like that. To Scotland, Czech Republic, the instant reactions will have build up on the website and on our Twitter feed. We've been doing a slate of interviews as well with former Scotland internationals, a couple of people connected with different players and the national team in some ways. The latest one is with Stuart McCall. So do check that out as well. We'll have plenty more of them from people across the globe, for people currently in Ralston to people in Sydney, Australia. Not to give away the latter, although I'm pretty sure you can jigsaw puzzle. So we hope you have enjoyed this video. Do remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time.